Hello, everyone, and welcome to the SustainaWhat Webisode series, the City of Cape Canaveral's monthly virtual public outreach program designed to educate and inform residents about all the latest happenings regarding our local environment, technology, and infrastructure. My name is Grace Burrington, and I serve as the city's sustainability intern. I will be your host for today's webisode. In this webisode, we will be discussing urban forestry. In an age defined by rapid growth of urban areas around the world, it is more important than ever to protect, manage, and expand urban forests whenever possible, as they can help to provide a whole host of benefits to both ecosystems and people alike. Urban forestry is playing a critical role in the use of green infrastructure, or infrastructure that directly utilizes or mimics natural processes found in nature. And throughout this presentation, we'll be showcasing some examples of its use locally and in other cities across the globe. Whether set within a mountain forest or nestled into a downtown park, trees are a source of beauty and life. Protecting and planting them is one of the most basic and easiest forms of environmental stewardship there is. So sit back, relax, and enjoy today's presentation. Now let's talk about urban forestry. So first things first, let's define urban forestry. According to the nonprofit American Forest, which is the oldest national nonprofit conservation organization in the United States, urban forestry is defined as the planting, maintenance, care, and protection of tree populations in urban settings. Urban forestry has long been a tool used in urban planning, but in modern cities, you are seeing a growing trend of architects, planners, and engineers interconnecting and expanding green spaces and green infrastructure. This is driving new architectural trends, designs, and sustainable development. Where perhaps bland parking lots, rooftops, and storm drains would once be planned, now you may see the implementation of vast rain gardens, green walls, and trees intermixed throughout in order to revive and utilize the ecosystem services presented by these living pieces of infrastructure. Next, let's define green infrastructure. Section 502 of the Clean Water Act defines green infrastructure as the range of measures that use plant or soil systems, permeable pavement or other permeable surfaces or substrates, stormwater harvest and reuse, or landscaping to store, infiltrate, or evapotranspirate stormwater and reduce flows to sewer systems or to surface waters. Before moving any further, let's go over some quick facts about trees. It is estimated there are around 3 trillion currently living on the planet. Of these, about 15 billion trees are lost to human activities each year. One large tree can provide a day's supply of oxygen for up to 4 people. Over 20% of the world's oxygen is produced in the Amazon rainforest. Each average-sized tree provides an estimated $7 savings in annual environmental benefits, including energy conservation and reduced pollution. Trees are usually old, sometimes extremely old. The oldest known living tree was discovered in 2016 in the White Mountains of California, a Great Basin bristlecone pine dated at an astonishing 5,062 years old based on tree ring sampling. And finally, this one is probably a given, but trees make people happy. Now let's take a detailed look at some of the specific benefits urban forestry has on both the environment and people. The first and probably one of the better known benefits of a well-developed urban canopy is temperature control. Urban areas are typically hotter than rural or even suburban areas. These can be known as urban heat islands. Urban areas can be anywhere from 1 to 8 degrees Fahrenheit warmer than surrounding areas during the day, and 2 to 5 degrees Fahrenheit warmer at night. Known as the heat island effect, it is caused when structures such as buildings, roads, and other infrastructure absorb and re-emit the sun's heat more than natural landscapes. Shaded surfaces from something like a tree can be 20 to 45 degrees Fahrenheit cooler than the peak temperatures of unshaded materials. As a whole, trees cool a city by up to 10 degrees Fahrenheit by shading homes and streets. Trees can reduce energy costs by up to 25% if properly placed around buildings via shading and evaporative cooling from evaporation of water on leaves. Trees also do an excellent job of capturing and absorbing stormwater runoff. Stormwater is any water that runs off of human-made structures like roads, roofs, or sidewalks during and after a rainstorm. It is estimated that 10 trillion gallons of untreated runoff from U.S. cities makes its way into water bodies each year. The average city block generates 5 times more runoff than an area of forest equal in size. Reintroducing trees into urban settings is a great way to passively collect and treat this runoff. 100 mature trees catch about 139,000 gallons of rainwater per year, while also reducing soil erosion by slowing the speed of runoff on the ground. A study showed that the value of more than 500,000 mature trees in Tucson, Arizona was estimated at $90,000 per year for runoff control and $1.5 million per year for particulate matter removal. A practice that is closely associated with urban forestry is called low-impact development, and it is a practice we also utilize in the city of Cape Canaveral. According to the EPA, low-impact development, or LID, is a series of systems and practices that use or mimic natural processes that result in the infiltration, evapotranspiration, or use of stormwater in order to protect water quality and associated aquatic habitats. Shown here are more images of Wagner Park, a great example of a low-impact development here in Cape Canaveral. Here's another image of Wagner Park. With over 50 native cordgrasses, Wagner Park collects stormwater to let it infiltrate into the ground. The plants provide a natural treatment system, reducing the amount of harmful pollution and nutrients that would otherwise flow as runoff into the lagoon. Along with the water benefits of Wagner Park, it also serves as a habitat for many other Florida native plants and pollinators. In fact, Wagner Park has such an extensive network of pollinators that it is recognized as a monarch butterfly way station. Each year, the monarch butterflies migrate from the United States and Canada to Mexico and need way stations such as this to provide them food and breeding habitats along their way. By planting pollinators, any urban forest can become a monarch way station, and we hope to increase the number of these around the city. Here's an example of another prominent LID project within the city. As part of the revised Stormwater Master Plan in 2014, the city completed a stormwater improvement project that included exfiltration tanks placed under the baseball fields of Canaveral City Park in 2016. The project included the installation of over 4,000 stormwater chambers beneath 2 outfield areas and 1 infield area. These help capture a maximum of approximately 931,000 gallons of stormwater. Once inside these chambers, stormwater is allowed to percolate down through the underlying soil where it is naturally filtered. The contributing area of treatment is equivalent to 30.3 acres. In 2019, the underground system was modified to be able to accept excess reclaimed water from the city's water reclamation facility so as to reduce the number of discharges into the lagoon. If conditions are correct, reclaimed water can be transferred directly from the plant to the exfiltration system, where reclaimed water will gradually flow down into the porous soil below and be filtered. To date, this system has helped divert well over 40 million gallons of reclaimed water from the lagoon and counting. Another important benefit of urban forestry is carbon sequestration. This is the process where carbon is taken out of the atmosphere and stored for a period of time. This can either be through natural or artificial means. Trees are nature's best mechanism for carbon sequestration, due to the fact that they absorb CO2 from the atmosphere and hold the carbon while releasing the oxygen back into the air that we then can breathe. Each year, an acre of trees can absorb as much CO2 as a car that has driven 26,000 miles puts off. This is why it is so important to offset humans' carbon emissions by planting trees, so as to not further damage our atmosphere with carbon dioxide. This is an example of how we can take the carbon sequestration process performed by trees and turn it into an artificial concept to incorporate into buildings and cities. It can often take decades for a tree to reach maturity to be able to capture the amount of carbon needed to offset human activities, whereas solutions such as these mechanical trees can provide immediate benefits to our atmosphere. Fun fact, a dozen of these structures could capture up to 1 metric ton of carbon dioxide per day. A dozen trees would capture a fourth of that in a year, making these mechanical versions astronomically more efficient. One of the biggest issues with urban development is often habitat destruction. As trees are lost and fields paved over, it can displace a lot of wildlife and can even further some into extinction. Urban forestry can help mitigate that problem by restoring the lost tree and vegetation habitats. In New York City, you can see that they have integrated the forest habitats alongside their urban development. Trees can also be quite beautiful and can serve to enhance the aesthetics of green spaces. Beautifying areas with trees can also increase property values and overall human well-being. This gorgeous scenery here is a 1.45-mile long greenway in New York City that encompasses over 110,000 trees and plants. Areas such as this can serve as a model for landscape architecture in the future. We talked about carbon sequestration earlier, which helps mitigate the destruction of our atmosphere, but trees can also do a lot more for air quality besides that. In Los Angeles, trees remove nearly 2,000 tons of air pollution annually. In Chicago, that number is more like 18,000 tons. And in Kansas City, trees remove a whopping 26,000 tons of air pollution annually. Without them, who knows what our atmosphere would look like today. This image is the Salesforce Transit Center in San Francisco, California. As you can see, this structure is an urban forest all on its own, supporting 600 trees and 16,000 plants across 5.4 acres. There are also different biome sections throughout the roof that visitors can enjoy, including a redwood forest, a desert corridor, an oak meadow, and a simulated Mediterranean climate zone. This is a great example of how urban forests can not only provide atmospheric benefits for humans, but can also provide a great education point for those wanting to learn more about forestry. Urban forestry in large metropolitan areas is especially important to lower the impact of the pollution that they let off. This pollution can travel to more rural areas, impacting human health across the globe. In 2016, it was estimated that air pollution caused 4.2 million premature deaths globally. Along with the mortality rate, air pollution can also have a significant impact financially. In 2014, it was estimated that the United States lost about $790 billion of the GDP due to the air pollution impacts. Vertical forests are another mode of urban forestry that are growing in popularity among landscape architects. With growing urbanization, there is often not a lot of ground space to expand green areas. Vertical forests often take extreme feats of engineering, which can sometimes cost more money than ground forest. However, the payoff is immense. Shown here in Italy, the Bosco Verticale encompasses over 900 trees, equivalent to about 1 hectare of a natural forest. In Florida, we want to make sure that our urban forests are composed of native plants. If non-native trees are planted, it could lead to invasive species outbreaks and endanger some of our native ones. Shown here is a list of trees that are suitable to be planted in Florida urban forest. These trees would increase the biodiversity of our cities and restore habitats for native wildlife. If you have ever been to Disney World in Orlando, you might have seen this on the side of McDonald's. All of the plants are real, and it is an example of a living wall. Living walls are self-sufficient gardens that are attached to the wall of a building, either inside or outside. This is different from a green facade, due to the fact that green facades are creeping plants that have been planted in the ground and grew up the side of the wall, whereas living walls have plants that are not adhered to the ground in any way. Shown here is the One Park building in Sydney, Australia. This structure is an amazing example of how modern technology can support and enhance our natural environment. With unique engineering and design, this structure stands at 383 feet tall and incorporates over 85,000 plants across the different facades. The most unique feature of the building is its heliostat. a platform composed of mirror that tracks and directs the above sunlight into the courtyard to support plant life that otherwise would be shaded out from the rays. In order to water all of this vegetation, the building also has its own recycled water network in the basement, taking from rain, ground, and even sewage water. Here are some more images of that building. As you can see, the green spaces not only provide environmental improvement, but also increase the aesthetics of the area. Shown on the bottom, that is an image of the heliostat from below. So far, we have looked at how trees can be incorporated onto structures and in urban environments. However, what if the trees themselves were the structures? Living structures are those that are organic in terms of materials used and sometimes even construction methods. This is a sustainable option for urban areas due to the fact that once a structure is worn out and torn down, the materials can then be returned back to the earth, creating a completely cyclic process. Shown on the left is a rendering of a living house. Using a combination of green and gray materials, this house would be able to sustain for the time it is needed, and then portions would eventually be decomposed back into the earth. On the right is an example of a living root bridge from India. This bridge is formed by using tree shaping to guide the roots across the water. After many years, the bridge is then thick and sturdy enough to allow humans to walk from one end to the other without any artificial materials. Here is a rendering of a living structure with the outside composed entirely of potted plants. Not only does it provide a unique architectural look to the building, it also could serve to increase biodiversity and the air quality in the surrounding area. So, how does this all apply to us here in Cape Canaveral? As it turns out, we already have a couple examples of urban forestry and have even been named a tree city by the Arbor Day Foundation for over 30 years. There's always room to improve though, and we strive to have 1,000 new trees planted within city limits by 2035. You can help us reach this goal by participating in the Adopt-A-Tree program soon that will help us expand our urban canopy. So what does being a tree city mean? It means that we focus a lot of our efforts here in Cape Canaveral around our natural neighbors. This includes planting trees annually, providing education to our residents, such as this webinar, and enhancing our tree maintenance. It also means active participation and recognition of Arbor Day. So be on the lookout next April for fun events that you can get involved with as well. Along with the Adopt-A-Tree program that is in development for residences, Cape Canaveral also launched a specific program for mangroves last spring. This program has resulted in 18 new mangroves being planted in the city so far and is furthering us towards our goal of 300 planted by 2025. If you would like to get involved in this program, please head to the city website to learn more. We aim to have so many new mangroves planted due to the immense environmental benefit that they provide to our coastal community. As shown here, mangroves are often considered the kidney of the seas due to the fact that they regulate surge levels and protect our shorelines from incoming storms. Mangroves also play an important role in improving our atmosphere, even more so than the average tree. The carbon that is captured and stored by coastal ecosystems is referred to as blue carbon, and mangroves are one of the primary sequestrators of blue carbon. In fact, mangroves around the world sequester as much as 24 million metric tons of carbon every single year. This is why they are such an important asset to our community that must be protected and replenished. Along with mangrove planting, Cape Canaveral also hosts annual sea oat plantings. These plants help our sand dunes avoid erosion and are an excellent way for the community to get involved with the sustainability of our city. Between 2005 and 2020, we have planted over 100,000 new sea oats and plan to plant another 20,000 just next year. Come out next January and help us enhance our coastal environment. And with that, we come to the end of this month's webisode. If you have any questions regarding what you've seen in this webisode, please feel free to email the City Hall Sustainability Department. Additional helpful links can be found in the video description below. Be sure to subscribe to the city's official YouTube channel and hit the bell so you can get notified for all the latest SustainaWhat Webisodes. In the next webisode, we will be taking a look at the 2021 hurricane season and how to stay prepared. I highly recommend you tune into that one, especially if you live in Florida. Once again, I'm Grace, and I hope that you have enjoyed this content. Thank you for watching and have a great day.